Well, hello everyone. I am so happy to be able to share with you a short teaching on building credibility. One of the biggest challenges, especially among young leaders, is having to establish credibility. A lot of times people think, and young leaders think, that credibility is just something that happens automatically. And of course, each leader, whether you're young or mature, meaning older, you want to be respected as a leader and to be listened to and to be followed. However, sometimes they hurt themselves by making foolish decisions, demonstrating a lack of discipline, or failing to follow through on commitments. So, if we want to, or you who's watching right now, want to build a credibility influence, you have to build credibility and you have to do it by being a person of character. So it has to be something that we have to focus on, something that we have to be willing to pay the price for. So let's start thinking about what it looks like for a young leader that wants to be able to have credibility in their leadership. So here's a thought. When we think about in the Old Testament, when Moses passed away and then Joshua took over his leadership and he would lead people in to the promised land. Was it about Joshua that enabled him to earn, or let me back up by asking this question. What was it about Joshua that enabled him to earn credibility with Moses in order for him to be the one who's chosen? So I want to bring a couple of points to you in these few minutes. The first one is we have to have, if we're going to build credibility, we're going to have a passionate hunger for God. In Ezekiel, or Exodus, should I say, 33 verses 7 through 11, we see when Moses would go into the tent of meeting to meet with God, Joshua would go along and stay long after Moses left. So according to Exodus chapter 33, verse 11, it says, when Moses returned to the camp, his servant Joshua, the son of Nun, a young man, would not depart from the tent. So he had a passion and a hunger for God, even and he demonstrated this by when he went with Moses, who went into the tent of meeting. And then Moses would come out and he would leave. He would remain and he would stay at the tent of meeting because he has such passionate hunger for God. So the first thing that we have to remember as a leader is to and to build credibility is to have a passionate hunger for God. The second thing I would like to point out is another point concerning building credibility is a faith-driven willingness to take risks. So we have to be willing to take risks by stepping out in faith, meaning to say we have to be willing to step out of our comfort zone. In Numbers 14, of course, we can see when Moses sent Joshua with 11 others to spy out the promised land. If you've read that story, you are familiar with this. And so out of the promised land, only he and Caleb had the faith to say conquering and powerful enemy was a possibility. There was Joshua and Caleb, should I say, when they had come out of the promised land, they were the only two that had faith and said, this is possible for us to go because God said. So in Numbers chapter 14, verse 7 and 8, Joshua said, if the Lord is pleased with us, then he'll bring us into this land and give it to us. So they believed what God said. So in order for us to build credibility, we also have to have faith-driven willingness to take risks and believe God and to trust God. People will see that. People will hear you say it, but then also your actions will demonstrate your faith and confidence in believing God. The third thing in building credibility is a proven competence to lead. So you have to have proven yourself to be competent in your leadership. If we go and remember, go back to Exodus chapter 17, you'll read 8 through 16 when we see Amalek came to fight Israel, and Moses delegated the leadership of that battle to Joshua. So Joshua proved his leadership ability in this battle when we read in Exodus chapter 17 through 13. Joshua overwhelmed Amalek and his people with the edge of the sword. So he was able to receive the delegation that was given to him by Moses and follow through with that, telling us that he had proven competence to lead. So he was competent to lead when he was given the delegation to take on this battle with the people of God. So you have to be able to go through tough times, battles, spiritual warfare, in order for you to build credibility, and people have seen that you are competent and capable enough to be able to go through and take and lead people into battle. The fourth thing is we have to have a high degree of integrity. That's extremely important. Many leaders are gifted and they have many talents and have charisma, but they lack integrity. So in order for us to build credibility, we have to have a high degree of integrity. In Numbers 32, Joshua and Caleb were the only two from their generation to enter the promised land because they followed the Lord faithfully, or should I say fully, completely. And you can read this in Numbers chapter 32, verses 11 and 12. And so they had integrity and they followed the Lord fully. They did not waver in their thinking. They did not waver in their faith, in their trust in God. Even though they did not go into the promised land immediately, it took 40 years, but they would be the only remaining two from the original ones that went into the promised land 40 years before that would experience the promised land. And it's because of their high degree of integrity. The last one that I want to point out to you in building credibility is a healthy sense of inadequacy. You have to have a healthy sense of inadequacy. In Joshua chapter 1, after being chosen as Moses' successor, God spoke to Joshua, encouraging him and telling him not to be afraid. And so in Joshua 1:8, it tells us this: be strong and courageous, for you shall give this people possession of the land which I swore to their fathers to give them. So we have to ask ourselves this question as leaders, young or old, what do we have to do, and what are we willing to do to build credibility? So what do we need to do? What areas in our lives do we need to do, or what do we need to do to increase our level of credibility with our followers? Again, going back through these 4 or 5 points is, do you have a passion for God? If not, we have to work on our passion for God and be passionate for God. Maybe you're not faith-filled or faith-driven and have a willingness to take risks. If you're lacking in that, you have to change the script and be willing to take faith steps, and which will, of course, mean that there'll be risks that you'll have to take. Or how about this proven competence to lead? Maybe you failed before, but now you have another opportunity that when the next challenge comes, people can see that you're competent to lead because you successfully brought them through and even made those tough decisions, and it came out successful on the other side. Or again, and then the next one is a high degree of integrity. If you're lacking in integrity, then I want to encourage you to build a stronger level of integrity by fully trusting God and obeying God and doing things that are right and honest. And then the last one we said is a healthy sense of inadequacy. In other words, we have to be strong and courageous if we're going to lead people into their promised land. So I'm glad that I had this opportunity to spend with you these few minutes to share with you on building credibility. I hope this has blessed you and encouraged you. And again, let me just encourage you and just pray for you right now. Father, those of us, those that are watching, leaders, Lord, I pray for them, God, that you would help them to build credibility. And as you do that, bring people into their lives that they can that they can lead, and that they'll be good followers because they've built good credibility and demonstrated these things in their lives. In Jesus' name. Thanks for watching. Call you blessed and highly favored. Until next time, remember, life goes better when God is first. God bless you.